Have you ever sat quietly in the afternoon, looking out the window and wondering, did I really make the right choice? I'm 85 years old, and throughout my life, I've made many mistakes, but there's one decision that still weighs on me to this day. Moving into a nursing home, at the time I believed I was doing the right thing, for myself and for my children and grandchildren. They told me, "Dad, you'll be well taken care of there. It'll be safer, more comfortable." And I believed them. But just a few weeks after moving in, I realized the truth was nothing like what I imagined. If you or someone you love are considering a move into a nursing home, I want to invite you to take a few minutes and listen to 7 things I wish I had known earlier. The things no one tells you in advance. But that could change the rest of your life, just as they changed mine. This isn't just my story. It's a wake-up call for anyone standing at the crossroads of aging, where you must choose between convenience and freedom, between safety and the feeling of truly being alive. And if you really want to know what lies behind the doors of a nursing home, stay with me until the end of this video, because sometimes a decision that seems small can change the rest of your life. Let's begin. Here is the first thing I regret most. Part 1, losing independence. The silent cost of a single decision. Do you know what hurts the most for someone my age after moving into a nursing home? It's not the small room. It's not the meals served on schedule, even if I didn't choose them. It's the feeling that I no longer get to decide for myself. Before coming here, I still had a life of my own. I loved sleeping in on rainy days. Some mornings I had breakfast at 9, other times at 6. It depended on my mood. In the afternoon, I could brew a pot of tea, open an old book, and sit quietly under the porch listening to the birds sing. Simple things, but they were exactly what made me feel like I was still living in my own way. But from the very first day in the nursing home, I realized my time was no longer mine. Everything here follows a schedule. Breakfast at 7 a.m., whether you're hungry or not. Lights out at 9 p.m. Even if you're in the middle of reading your old memoirs. Want to go outside for fresh air? You'll have to wait for someone to escort you. Want to choose something different from the menu? Not always an option. I remember clearly. One morning I woke up earlier than usual. Sunlight was streaming through the window. I reached for the book I had been reading, but as I looked around, it hit me. This wasn't my room. No familiar armchair, no scent of aged wood, just a white room, a white bed, and belongings arranged like they were meant for someone who no longer needed to choose. In that moment, I realized I hadn't just moved houses, I had surrendered my autonomy, the one thing tied to dignity and selfhood. People often say, as long as you're well cared for, that's what matters. But here's what few ever tell you. Being cared for is not the same as truly living. When you lose the ability to choose what to eat, what to do, where to go, when to rest, you slowly begin to lose yourself. And the scariest part is, you start to get used to it. You stop resisting when others decide for you. You stop objecting. You stop choosing. And then one day you look in the mirror and no longer see the person who once knew exactly what they liked, what they stood for, and who they were. If you're considering a nursing home, whether for yourself or for someone you love, I'm not saying it's wrong, but I am asking you to think carefully. Are you, or is your loved one, truly ready to give up the smallest yet most essential thing? The right to live on your own terms. Because once you lose your independence, finding your way back to yourself is harder than you might ever imagine. Part 2, the feeling of being forgotten when you're no longer part of life outside. Have you ever felt like you're still here, but the world out there has moved on without you? I once believed that a nursing home would be a peaceful place to grow old, and that my loved ones, my children, grandchildren, friends, would still remember me, still visit often. And in the beginning, they did. My daughter came every week. The grandkids laughed and played around my bed on weekends. I felt at ease thinking, I'm still a part of the family. But then, the visits started to fade. Instead of stopping by, my daughter began to call. Then the calls grew shorter, more rushed. Mom, I've got a meeting today. Hang in there till Sunday. The kids have exams this week. Gradually, I became the one who waits. Do you know how empty it feels to wait alone? Every Sunday morning, I'd sit in the common room. My eyes, every now and then, would glance toward the door, hoping for a voice, a familiar footstep. But instead, there were only other faces, also waiting, just like me. Each of us holding on to a quiet hope that today someone would remember us. I began to ask myself, did I do something wrong? Then I realized I didn't. I had simply stepped out of their daily lives. And when you're no longer physically present in someone's routine, they begin to assume you're okay, that you don't need them the way you once did. I still remember one evening, holding my phone in my hand, watching my son's name light up on the screen, but I didn't dare call. I was afraid of being a bother, afraid that if I said I felt lonely, they'd think I was complaining. So I put the phone down, pretended nothing was wrong, and swallowed the emptiness quietly. The feeling of being forgotten doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in, like a clock that stopped ticking, and you don't notice until the night comes. If you're thinking of moving a loved one into a nursing home, or you yourself are considering it, please ask this question honestly. Are you prepared to live in a place where time is no longer measured by new memories, but by the growing distance between visits? Because no matter how deep the love, when you're absent from the rhythm of everyday life, being forgotten becomes easier than you might think. Part 3, losing the sense of purpose. When you no longer have a reason to wake up in the morning. There's something rarely talked about when it comes to aging. The feeling of being needed is what keeps us truly alive. Not just surviving, but living with meaning. Before moving into the nursing home, I still had that feeling. Each morning, I would wake up, make myself a cup of tea, water the orchids on the porch, wipe down the old wooden table where my husband used to read his newspaper. Each of those small, ordinary tasks reminded me, I still have value. I still have things to do. But then, after moving into the nursing home, I thought, maybe this is for the best. I'll get some rest. No more cooking, no more cleaning. There would be caregivers, clear schedules. It sounded peaceful. But soon I realized, when you have nothing left to do, you also have no reason to wake up. Breakfast was already prepared. My clothes were folded. The bed sheets had been changed. All the little things that once made me feel strong, capable, and independent were gone. And slowly that emptiness began to grow. I lost the motivation to dress nicely. I no longer felt the urge to step out into the hallway and admire the trees. There was nothing to look forward to except the next meal. I remember one of my roommates, George, 84 years old, a carpenter for decades. He used to tell me how, back home, every day he had something to fix, something to build. His hands were strong, his eyes sharp, his voice steady. But after a few months here, he went quiet. His hands rested in his lap, motionless. One day he said to me, I feel like I've passed my expiration date. It broke my heart. Old age itself isn't frightening. Losing the meaning of your existence is. When no one needs your help, when no one seeks your advice, when you have no task, no matter how small, to complete on your own, you start to wonder, why am I still here? If you're considering moving into a nursing home or placing a loved one there, please remember this. Good physical care is not enough. Caring for the body is one thing, but nourishing the spirit is what allows a person to grow old with dignity and wholeness. You need to be needed. You need to feel like you still matter. And if that can't be found in a place filled with routines and crowded dining halls, then maybe, just maybe, we should find another way. Find a way to hold on to even a small part of life you can still control. A garden corner, a meal you cook yourself, a task someone asked for your help with. Because sometimes one small thing can give you an entire reason to keep going. Part 4. When your body deteriorates faster than you think, the cost of convenience. There's a strange paradox I only came to understand after spending a few months in a nursing home. It's this: the place they call safe, convenient, and fully cared for is the very place where my body began to weaken the fastest. Back when I was still living at home, even in my 80s, I did things on my own. I cooked my meals, went grocery shopping once a week, swept the floor every morning. My legs were steady. My back was strong enough to hang the curtains. Those small tasks, they were the medicine that kept my body moving. But after moving into the nursing home, I was taken care of. I no longer had to cook, no stairs to climb, no cleaning to do. Everything was done for me. All I had to do was sit, wait, and eat. At first it felt like a relief, but after some time I started to notice. My legs weren't as agile. My knees hurt when I stood. I began to hesitate to take long strides, and slowly walking every day turned into walking only when reminded. My body wasn't being used anymore, and because of that, it began to decline. I clearly remember Alice, an 81-year-old friend, full of energy when she first arrived. She once said, "I won't let myself grow weak just because I live here." She walked the hallway every morning, exercised with a video every afternoon. But then, when no one joined her, when a caregiver said, "You should rest instead, it's better for you," she started sitting more. Then she switched to a walker, then eventually a wheelchair. One day she sighed and said to me, "I don't even know when I lost my strength. I just remember, I used to walk around the entire park. Now I need to press a call button just to reach the bathroom." It broke my heart. We don't grow weak because we age. We grow weak because we stop using our bodies. In a nursing home, where everything is done for you, you need real determination to keep moving. Otherwise, you'll decline faster than you realize. And that slope is not always something you can climb back up from. So if you or someone you love is considering nursing home life, ask yourself honestly, how will I stay active? Who will encourage me to stand up instead of sitting all day? Because once your body weakens, you don't just lose strength, you lose independence, confidence, and sometimes even your sense of dignity. Part 5, when privacy and dignity are no longer a given. There's something I wish someone had warned me about, long before I decided to move into a nursing home. Not about the food, not about the doctors, but about one thing that cuts deeper than most: dignity. At home, you can close the door whenever you like. You can sit quietly with a cup of tea, or simply just be yourself. But in a nursing home, this place they call your second home, you quickly learn that privacy becomes something you have to ask for. Each morning, someone might knock on your door, but sometimes they don't wait for an answer. The door swings open. They enter, bringing in a food tray or changing your bed sheets while you're still in your nightgown or before you've had a chance to comb your hair. And then you learn to stay silent. You learn to wait your turn for a shower because someone needs to assist you. You learn to press a button when you need to use the toilet and then wait. Sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 20, sometimes longer. Not because anyone is cruel, but because they're overwhelmed. You learn to eat meals you didn't choose, wear clothes you didn't pick, and share a room with someone you never chose to live with. I've been lucky. My roommate is kind, but others are not so fortunate. Some live beside someone with dementia who screams through the night. Some endure roommates who leave the TV blaring or who struggle with personal hygiene. And you know what? You don't get to choose, because a private room is a privilege, not a standard. I still remember one day when a new staff member entered my room and called me Patient 203, not by name, not with eye contact, just a number, just a file. That was the moment I felt I was no longer me. When you live in a place where everything, from meals to bedtime to your right to silence, is out of your hands, you begin to understand. Dignity is not automatic. It must be protected, piece by piece. And no matter how hard a nursing home tries, they don't always have the resources or the time to do that. So if you're considering a nursing home for yourself or someone you love, ask the important question: will they be treated as a person or processed like part of a system? Because dignity is not about being looked after. It's about being heard, being given a choice, and being allowed to be yourself, whether you're 80 or 90 or 100. Part 6. Leaving a nursing home isn't as easy as you think. When I first moved into the nursing home, I told myself, if it doesn't feel right, I'll just go back home. It sounded simple, but in reality, it wasn't. When you leave your familiar home, even if only for a few weeks or months, things begin to change faster than you expect. That once comforting house may sit empty for too long. Plants wither, windows gather dust. Your children or relatives start thinking about renting it out or selling it. Your treasured belongings are packed away, moved to storage, or worse, thrown out. Bit by bit, your old life gets dismantled, even if you're not ready to let it go. I remember telling my son once, "I want to go home." He looked at me with gentle concern and asked, "Are you sure, Dad? The house isn't as convenient anymore. And can you really manage everything on your own?" And in that moment, I understood. They didn't mean harm. They just wanted what they thought was safer. But being held back because of someone else's worry still hurts. I also wasn't as strong as before. In the nursing home, I didn't have to shop for groceries, cook, or clean. It seemed easy. But that ease quietly chipped away at my independence. Even walking from my room to the courtyard left me breathless. Putting on clothes became an effort, and I started to doubt myself. Can I really live on my own again? I'm not the only one who's felt this way. I've met many others who once believed the nursing home was just a temporary stop, a place to rest for a while. But in the end, they never made it back to their old homes, because after some time here, they became weaker. They lost their confidence, and their former homes were no longer ready to welcome them back. So if you're considering moving into a nursing home or helping your parents decide, ask yourself honestly, am I truly prepared for the possibility that I might not be able to return? Because getting in is easy, but leaving, both physically and emotionally, can be a far more complicated journey. Part 7, Final Reflections and the Last Lesson. If you're still here, still listening to everything I've shared, then maybe, just maybe, you're standing at the edge of a very big decision. Let me be clear. I'm not saying all nursing homes are bad. Not at all. Some truly offer safety, comfort, and care for those who can no longer live on their own. But what I want to emphasize is this. This decision will change your life more than you realize. Because it's not just about changing where you live. It's about slowly letting go of the life you've built, piece by piece. The routines that once grounded you. The quiet mornings where you brewed your tea just the way you liked. The simple right to say, today I want this, instead of this is today's schedule. It's a shift in what it means to live, not just exist. I wish I had known earlier that I could have hired part-time help at home, that I could have transformed a small corner of my house into a safer living space, that my children could have rotated care if we had planned and talked honestly together. Because the most important thing isn't where you live, it's whether you still feel alive. If you are preparing for this decision, either for yourself or a loved one, ask these questions honestly. Is there another way I could stay independent a little longer? Do I truly need to give up my freedom right now? And if I do move in, am I emotionally ready for what it means to feel forgotten sometimes? If this video has been helpful to you, please leave a comment below. Share something that made you reflect, or one thing you'll do differently after watching this. Because in doing so, you're not only helping yourself, you're sharing a message that so many older adults out there need to hear. And if you'd like to keep walking this journey with me, to hear more honest stories, deep insights, and heartfelt advice just for people like us, don't forget, hit like to support this video. Click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the new content we share every week. Thank you for staying until the end. Old age is not a full stop. It's the final chapter. And we absolutely have the right to write it our way. See you in the next video.